It's over now. The waiting game. It's so fine, but all the same, the fight goes
Good morning,
on.
this is Fred from Profile, and today I have Nad Sylvan on Profile. How are you doing, Nad?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
I'm trying to recoup after a very long tour, letting my body accept the fact that it can rest now.
Yeah.
So that's when it's starting to tell me, "Are we finished? Can I can I relax for a bit now?" Because these long tours, they really, as much as I love them, we're having so much fun. They are tiring. And I had a very bad cold that lasted for more than 5 weeks. I just kicked it. I still have a little bit of cough, but I think that could be part of my hay fever because
Yeah.
now all the pollen's coming out from the birch trees. It's all yellow powder everywhere, because I live in the country.
Yeah. Before we talk about the new album, if you don't mind, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your own and personal story. Uh, like your youth up until now, touring with Steve Hackett, releasing your fifth studio album. So can you tell us a little bit more about your story?
Do you mean in the musical sense?
Yeah, like from your youth, how did you get into the music?
Oh, oh, okay. Well, just one of those guys that, music found me. I didn't find music. That's how it's always been. I started playing the piano when I was very little. I think I must have been 4 or 5 because I was raised by my grandparents and they had an old piano there in the living room. And not shortly after, I started to compose. Very young, and been composing ever since. Started singing when I was 13, before my voice changed. So and been in different bands, local bands where I used to live. I was brought up outside Stockholm, and in later days, I formed a duo called Uniform with this guy Christian Thordin, aka Bonamici. Back in 2003, we hooked up. He had written a piece of music that he posted on one of the Genesis forums as a tribute to Genesis. And basically, I must say, in a way, it is thanks to him that I'm here today. In a
Oh
way,
yeah.
because I contacted him, Uniform happened, Royner heard that, Agents of Mercy happened, Steve heard that. There you go.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Now, this is
Uh,
very, of course, I could have expanded a lot of what I've done, been doing, but it's not that interesting because it was totally without success. I wasn't successful. I was always against the mainstream. I always went my own way, and that wasn't popular in this country, Sweden, where I live, where you're supposed to be as fit in. You should fit into something that everyone else are doing, and you can't be too original. And it's a very silly mindset. But I just thought of myself as being a pioneer in that way. I'll just go my own way and fuck the rest.
yeah, like that. Your fifth album, your fifth solo album, The Bride Said No, will be released on May 26th.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the concept and the relationship with Courting the Widow that was released back in 2015?
Well, musically, it's a continuation, stepping a bit out of my comfort zone, or the sort of typical Genesis, not Genesis, that's wrong on me to say Genesis, but the typical 70s era prog,
Hmm.
which had Genesis influence as well as all other bands I was listening to back then. It's not a tribute, but it's just that was where my headspace were at the time when I recorded the album. I collected songs from back in 2009 up until the last one I wrote was actually a song called Ship's Cat. I wrote that just before the album was finished. because it needed that extra song. Um, so there's no real conceptual story. They're more short individual stories with the characters that you know from Courting the Widow. You still have the bride who's that the vampire now has courted and is supposed to be married to, and of course she rejects him at the altar and leaves and slams the church door behind her and shouts for a taxi.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a bit of humor in it as well. You know, it's a humorous album in some respects. Aspect. That's how you pronounce it. My English is weird as well. You know, I am Swedish in my heart, so it gets a bit difficult. Musically, this is a bit more modern sounding. Some people think this sounds a bit like the 80s. To me, it sounds more like it's timeless.
Yeah.
But it has elements of the old world and the new world, more so than the previous one, which was definitely a throwback to the 70s, I feel. But this has a more modern take, some more modern drum sounds, but to me, it's timeless. Really, it could have been done any time, and because I'm a timeless kind of guy, you know, even though I tend to look like a 17th century Gothic prince or whatever they tag me as, which is fine by me. I like that. So, is that an answer good enough for you?
Yes, very good.
Oh,
But
thank
why a concept about vampires? Or, yeah, vampires.
I have to correct you. It's not a vampire. It's a vampirette. It's a
Okay.
combination of a vampire and a pirate. He's got his
Okay.
own ship, and the ship is still out there on the seas, entering new waters. So it's a metaphor for that. But it's also, you know, pun. It's a game of words. It's just basically silly, isn't it? But it's entertaining to some people. And also, actually, it's a vamp, as you know, a vamp pirate. So you can go on forever and analyze what I mean by that. That's just a gimmick, which I happen to like a lot.
Yeah. Looks like you still have ideas to write at least one more album
Yeah.
about this subject. So am I right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already have the album's title finished for the next album, and I have a couple of songs half finished for it. I plan to have that out next year.
Good. That's good to hear. How
Yeah.
was the writing process for the album?
Fantastic. It went really fast. I wrote all the songs. Songs were co-written with other people, but they were all written last year. Um, I had some early sketches early in the year that I continued after touring with Steve in the spring. I started to work in the summer with the album and finished it off, and I think it was in January, so I was about 8 months off and on. But the closer I get to deadline, the more hectic the schedule gets, you know. And so I did finish it off in time. It's not as long as Courting the Widow, which I think lands at 70 minutes. This is
Yeah.
just under 60 minutes, which actually is more appealing to me because you don't get too much information, too much music to listen through. It's just enough to you want to hear more, so you turn it on back again from the beginning. That's my goal, really, to have an entertaining piece of music.
The foundation of the song "The Bride Said No" was written
Yeah.
back in the 90s or
Well,
late
yeah,
90s.
actually in '89, if you want to be specific. I don't know. I had an idea of a song that I never really got to finish. I don't know why. So long as 28 years ago. What happened was that I just kept the name, and I had the four chords now in the verses and the guitars playing that. Well, when the vocals comes in. I had a different vocal back then, a different beat to it. It's a completely new. So just those four chords, and also the sinister psycho kind of sounding strings that comes in with the chorus. That was played on a kalimba sound back in the 80s. It was just that figure, dum 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 bum bum bum. but it was more elaborate back then with more polyrhythmic kind of feel. So I made that more simple, and that's the only thing that I kept from the basic ideas. The rest, the whole song is basically brand new.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So once again, for this project, the musicians and the guest lineup is quite impressive. Just to name a few, Steve Hackett, Roy Stolt, Guthrie Govan, Tony Levin, Jonas Ringhold. Wow, like, how did you get all these artists on board to collaborate on this project?
Because they love me, of course.
There you go.
No, no. Well, Roy and Jonas I known for years. You know, I know almost 10 years. I was in a band called Agents of Mercy with them, and that wasn't hard to get them on board. Nick Virgilio, he was already on my previous album, and I asked him again to say, of course. And also Don Perry from Jethro Tull.
Yep.
Was on my previous album, and he tracked his drums on 3 songs on this album as well. Tony Levin, excuse me, I had met a couple of times, and so we knew of each other. Reese, I knew of him, of course, but he knew who I was, and he had seen me with Steve, and very courteous and kind to me. And I got his email address through Roy or Jonas, I don't remember, and just asked him, would you be interested to track a bass Chapman stick for a song of mine? And he replied the same day and said, of course I will. You let me hear the track. Send it over to him, and before you knew it, he had delivered. Then I was cheeky enough to ask him, would you mind tracking 2 more songs? And he said, sure. My time frame now, my time window for recording is kind of limited, because he was going to go out on the road again with King Crimson, and so he did that very swiftly, very, very accurate and wonderful, tasteful playing, and it adds a lot to the songs, to be honest with you. So, and you know, I just love Tony. He's such a great musician. If you listen to the songs, what he plays is just absolutely gorgeous stuff. And then, of course, I had Guthrie. I asked him because Andy Latimer of Camel, I don't know if you heard of Camel. Sure,
yeah, absolutely.
Sure, you must have heard of Camel, the classic band. Even though I think it's only Andy that is the original member these days. It doesn't matter, it's still the same name. I met Andy in Japan a year ago when we were playing there, and we hit it off, and he actually wrote me an email after I've returned home. So, hi Nad, it was great seeing you. Very kind. And so what happened was I have a friend coming in with stuff.
Hi, friend.
Yeah, you've been out buying stuff. I've got some stuff for some of my plants have lice, and I have to kill them. So this is my gardener who just came in. Where was I? Yeah, was it Guthrie? Yeah, Andy. Yeah, that's right. Andy took sick. He was going to track a guitar solo for me for a song called "What Have You Done." He couldn't do it, and I said, "No, what do I do?" I mean, I play guitar myself, but I'm not by any stretch of the imagination as good as any of the other guitarists that's on the album. But I do play lots of guitar on this album, but generally, you know, rhythm guitar or riffs and stuff. So I talked to Nick Beggs and said, do you think Guthrie would be interested? Would you ask him? So he gave me his email address, and he said, of course. Guthrie is like that. He was very kind. What happened was that it took a while before he delivered. You know, I was approaching deadline. Since I don't know him, I didn't know if it really was going to happen. Of course it did happen, but I didn't know that, and I was feeling a bit, I guess, prematurely stressed over the fact that he still hadn't delivered and all the other pieces were there. But at the same time, Steve Hackett was going into the studio to record 3 songs for me. And so I asked Steve, just like a plan B, you know, would you track a solo of this ballad? And both Steve and Guthrie ended up delivering on the same day.
Wow.
So I basically had to extend the whole piece to make room for them both and change a little bit in the arrangement because it's very lush. When Steve comes in, it's very lush and very choral and pompous and beautiful. But then when Guthrie takes over, it scales down again, and since it all the arrangement is being thinned out, only to build up again to real climax towards the end. And I think that actually is, to me, probably the highlight of the whole album.
Progressive rock isn't known to be the easiest music genre to live off. Why
No.
did you decide to stick with prog?
Well, I could do a bit of jazz, I could do pop, I could do anything, but I tried all of that with no success. I tried to do, I did an album called Sylvan 14 years ago, which is more of a soul rock funk album, which is I was always a very funky guy. I still have a lot of funk in my music, even though it's progressive.
Mm-hmm.
I just guess that it's because of my musical vocabulary. It's very grateful for me to be in the realm of prog rock because I don't have to have that many obstacles or limitations of what I can do. And artistic freedom is a blessing
Yeah.
for anyone who's in, to be able to do what you want to do without having the record label saying we need a hit, we need another hit.
Yeah.
It all becomes business instead of just being something that comes from your heart. So I guess, and also of course the music I was brought up with all the progressive bands, and it's sort of in my DNA really. So it's a part of me. I can't say that I would change my style of music if I could. If I would do that, it was just because of my new influences, maybe.
Yeah.
But I love being in the prog world, and apparently some fans like what I do, so I'll stick with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now you're still touring with Steve Hackett on his Genesis. Well, there's 2 more dates now.
We just came off a UK leg of a tour. We've done 15 or 16 shows in the United Kingdom the
Yes.
last 3 weeks. And we ended the last show was in London Palladium last Friday. And now we have about 5 weeks off.
Okay.
Then we're going to go down to Madrid and do a festival. And then we continue to Italy, and we're doing about a week of festivals, outdoor festivals
Wow.
in Italy. And then we have a couple of weeks off again before we go to New Zealand and Australia and places like that.
Okay. Any plans on touring and promoting your own album?
There are no immediate plans, but I think I would like to go on the road with my own stuff when I have cut the third album, because by then I think Steve would need a break from touring, because I'm dedicated to Steve next year as well. We're going to
Okay.
cover a lot of territories next year. We're actually coming to Quebec.
Yes. Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing parts of the States as well, and South America, and I've heard that hasn't been set in stone yet, but those are the rumors. I guess I have to stick with them.
Yeah.
So after I get off tour next year, I'll be able to finish my third album
Yes.
for Inside Out and look at plans for taking on the road. I need to hook up with good people because it's a huge undertaking.
Yeah. And need some rest as well, eh? In between the concerts, touring.
Yes, well, we're not getting any younger, are we? I'm turning 58 next month, so I can feel my age sometimes.
We're reaching the end of the interview, but before you get rid of me, I have a few more questions that will only require one word answer. So if you don't
Oh,
want to answer, you just say pass. All
okay.
right? Your favorite Swedish progressive rock album of all time?
Pass.
The one artist you dream of having a chance to work with?
Pass.
Your favorite concert you attended as a fan?
Oh, as a fan.
Yeah.
It was actually Genesis in 1977 on the Winter Weathering Tour on my 18th birthday in Stockholm
Wow. Wow. The favorite
with
concert. Oh, sorry.
Steve. Steve was still in the band.
Yeah. The favorite concert you gave as a musician.
Do you mean the event or do you mean artistically?
As you wish, sir.
Probably Royal Albert Hall,
Wow. Yeah.
2013. We had a good night. I was still very fresh. Still had yet to learn, a lot to learn. Still had to discover a lot more with my vocal technique. Things I can do today I couldn't back then. But if you disregard those aspects, the whole evening was it was just a monumental thing to go through with my. But you know, I'm Swedish American, so I had my father
Yeah.
flying in from Los Angeles. By then was 85. It's going to be 89.
Wow.
Tomorrow my dad turns 89.
Wow.
Yes, I had family from both sides of the Atlantic, and it was just over the top. So for that reason, that must be my favorite show I've done. But there have been so many wonderful shows. This
Yeah.
year has been our most successful tour we ever done. The dynamic within the band has been absolutely fantastic. We all got along so well and had so many laughs, and the show was a massive success with sold out shows everywhere. So if I can say Albert Hall and this whole tour we done this year, that would be the climax for me.
That's great.
I know more than one word answer, but I had to elaborate because
No,
to
I,
get it.
I love that. If you remember, what was the first album you purchased?
Oh, the first album I purchased for my own money.
Yep.
Deep Purple, Machine Head.
Wow. What is the last album you've purchased?
Ooh. I don't remember. All I know is the last one I've got from a fan I have in Holland. She gave me the 5.1 mix of Yes, Tales from Topographic Oceans, which is a fabulous thing to listen to, which is one of my fabulous, favorite records of all time. But when I actually went out and bought a record, I don't know. I can't tell
Okay.
you.
Okay. What's your favorite drink?
Red wine.
What is the name of your cat?
Scroot.
And I saw a question the other day on Facebook, and I still haven't seen the answer yet. Are you gonna cut your hair short?
No.
No? All right. Thanks, Nat, for taking the time on your busy schedule, for accepting or talking to us on Profile. And
Thank you.
anything you'd like to add before that wasn't covered, or before I let you go?
Yes, that I hate the word awesome, and you should instead say Demogorgon. That's it.
Demogorgon.
Demogorgon.
Okay.
It
I'll,
it comes from awesome. Actually, it derives from the word awe, which can be. It could be something that is off, like scary, in awe, like that, and that is what the Demogorgon is. I think the word awesome is so overused that it's crazy and it means absolutely nothing to me. When you can actually use so many more words to really, explain what you're feeling, like beautiful, fantastic, gorgeous, sweet, nice. I mean, the list is never ending, but nowadays it's all scaled down to, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I completely detest the word, and I'm a huge opponent.
well, I'll remember that.
Thank
I,
you.
I'll try not to use it anymore.
But you haven't so far.
Well, I kind of do, so that's why I'm gonna have to think about it. Well, thanks very much, Nat, and best of luck with your album. I know this is gonna be one of the best album in my book for 2017. I just love
Oh,
it. So we're just expecting to release the review on the album on Profile. So looking forward to it. And again, best of success on everything you take part of.
Oh, thank you very much. Been a
Thanks, Dan.
pleasure.
Thank you.